Good morning, guys. Welcome to Keeping It LCFC, my new YouTube channel. It's a spin-off from my Twitter channel, my Twitter account rather, Keeping It LCFC. Basically, this is sort of a new idea I've had to make some videos. I, like most of you, spend a lot of my time thinking about football, thinking about Leicester City and things that have gone on, and I have a 30, 35, 40 minute drive to and from work every day. So I thought to myself, why not give it a go to make some videos just to speak about Leicester really and football in general. Sometimes might cover a few other topics. Totally unscripted, so whatever happens, whatever I come out with, you know, my mind can take me anywhere. I've got a rough idea of maybe what topics I might cover, but while I'm talking, my mind might just completely think about something completely different and we'll end up there. So the first thing I am going to talk about is a little bit of a hangover from the Carabao Cup semi-final. It's been mentioned quite a lot in recent days, and it's the no call on the penalty by VAR and Mike Dean and most notably Lee Mason. So I think everybody, 100% of people, whether you're Aston Villa fans or not, can agree it should have been a penalty. How initially for me Mike Dean has not given the penalty. He's looking straight down the barrel of the shot, of the effort. He must see that ball come off Nakamba's arm, and he's not giving it. Now that's something that has happened in football since football was invented. Really, referees and officials do miss things. It can happen. He could have blinked at the wrong time, or simply just not been looking right at the right thing. For me, I don't know how he's not seen it. So obviously we know what happens. There's a second shot, a second attempt, which comes off the defender's ribs and goes out for a corner. And Leicester obviously appeal for the decision, appeal for the penalty, and the VAR check is done, and we're all expecting, I think everybody watching the TV and probably everybody in the ground that saw it is expecting a penalty to be given. It isn't, and it looks to me through the TV coverage, which obviously the TV is made for VAR, it usually shows exactly the VAR feed, exactly what they're seeing, the replays, the rollbacks, the rock and rolls on the replays. It usually shows all of that on the TV, and all we saw full replays of really was the one cannon off the defender's back, which is not a penalty. I don't think anyone is arguing that it is a penalty. By which point the feed cuts back to the on-field referee and the corner is given, and then a strange scrambled looking replay comes up of the actual handball, but by that point it's not given. And for me, it's a massive error, it's a massive mistake. Whether you've got technology or not, it still relies on the people that are using it. And then for that, you're looking at the main VAR official, who is Lee Mason. He has looked at it, I guess. He had to have looked at it or seen it, and he's not alone in the room at Stockley Park. I think I've heard Kevin Nolan talking on TalkSport yesterday or the day before. There's at least 3, 4, maybe 5 other people in that room with Lee Mason, the main VAR official, and surely one of them's got to say, hang on a minute, lads, are we looking at the right replay here? Or if we've looked at that replay and still not given it, why have we not given it? It's, as Brendan Rodgers said yesterday when asked by Ian Stringer, Brendan Rodgers has said it's one of the clearest penalties you'll see. It conforms with the rule. The arms are in an unnatural position. He's not protecting his head. It's out away from his head. It's above shoulder height, which is considered to be unnatural. So it ticks all the boxes for it to be a handball, but yet it's not given. And I guess you can kind of live with that. Again, you can kind of let that go. And then you read yesterday that the main official at the King Power Stadium on Saturday is none other than the VAR official from Tuesday night, Lee Mason. And it's an incredible decision by the FA, by the Premier League. I'm not sure Lee Mason's probably happy about being given this game, because I would imagine he is going to get a very, very hostile reception from the King Power crowd, which would be, for me, rightfully so. He should be given a hostile reception. He's made a decision that essentially has changed the course of a game. Whether or not we would have won it is neither here or there. What you want to see is the justice in decisions. Now, for as long as football's been around, there have been decisions that are tight, that are potentially 50-50 decisions, and you can accept them when they go against you. But the reason I think most people were calling for VAR to be introduced was for decisions exactly like this one. I don't think anybody wanted it to be used to the level on offside that it's being used. They happily get their lines out, their GPS tracking systems, their dotted lines, other lines in front of what line. They'll happily spend, up to 2 or 3 minutes during a game when the supporters in the stadium are just sitting on their hands waiting for a decision to be made. They're happy to sit there for someone to be given offside by a millimetre. They're happy to make that decision because they believe it's a black and white decision, when frankly it isn't. We all know that the VAR margin of error is about 18 centimetres, that's something I've heard recently, and they're giving someone off by millimetres, and yet you've got a deviation or a margin of error of 18 centimetres. How can you possibly give somebody offside for a call as tight as that one? So for me, I didn't want VAR in the first place. I've not really been a fan of it. I would like to see it used for the obvious. So, for example, the handball on Tuesday night, the upgrading of yellow cards to red cards. Sometimes you don't see a challenge is as bad as, in real time at full speed doesn't look as bad. I don't think, a lot of ex-professionals and pundits will say a tackle slowed down always looks worse, and I do tend to agree with that, but I like the idea of using it to, if there is a dangerous challenge, for example, the Ryan Bertrand tackle on Ozzy Perez, the Luka Milivojevic upgrade from a yellow to a red from the other week. I do like the idea of using it for those sort of things, and obviously for offsides, I'm happy for them to use it for offsides, but it has to be an obvious offside error. The main example I can see, the one time I definitely would have used it this season, would have been the Aubameyang goal against Man United, for which the linesman has flagged when the man with the biggest head on the pitch, he stood 2-3 yards away from him, playing him onside. That's the sort of decisions that I want to see VAR used for. It shouldn't be coming into action as many times as it is during games. For me, it seems like they're trying to disallow goals, trying to find a reason to disallow a goal in a game. I don't like it. I don't want it. I know we've benefited from it as a team this season. A few times we would have lost our opening game of the season if I'd have been in charge, because I would have let the goal stand. I don't think it's handball. I think it's such a soft... the rule itself is different for attackers and defenders, and that shouldn't be the case. That you can't have one handball rule when you're in attack and then one handball rule when you're defending. That to me seems absolutely ridiculous, and for anyone to sign that off, the PGMOL or the FA or the Premier League, to agree to that being a rule, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Especially as we've seen handballs lately probably being the one that is probably most questioned. I think offside obviously raises a lot of arguments, a lot of questions, but the handball issues there have been this season, for those that have been given, those that haven't been given, it's a bit of a mess, and the rules for me need looking at. If you're gonna have a handball rule in attack where if it touches any part of an attacker, on the arm, deliberate or otherwise, body in natural or unnatural position or otherwise, then you're going to chalk a goal off. Then you have to have the same rule for a defender, surely, because we've seen unnatural handballs not given this season. Two that I can think of straight off the top of my head are the Trent Alexander-Arnold handball against Man City, where about 15-20 seconds later, maybe less, Fabinho rifles the ball in the back of the net after Trent Alexander-Arnold has clearly, for me, handballed it. He's about 1.5 foot away from his body with his arm down. For me, it's handball. There's one surfacing from a couple of weeks ago of Virgil van Dijk in an attacking move. Again, Liverpool scored of the ball hitting his arm on the halfway line, and I think he sprayed a pass in towards the edge of the area, and in the end, Liverpool get a goal from it. Now, I'm not one of these that, thinks Liverpool getting all the decisions. They do get a lot, but you have to make your own luck, I suppose, in this league, and it's just the way it's going. If there is a conspiracy, then obviously someone is enjoying themselves because Liverpool are so far good at the top of the table. But I'm one of these that wants to believe that's just because Liverpool are the best team this season, and they are, without a doubt, the best team this season. I think individually there are players in the Premier League that are better than Liverpool's players in certain positions, but as a team, as with us in 2015-16, there was not a better team than us in that season. We had the best team that season. The best team won the Premier League. We had a spirit, a work ethic, a determination, and a real fight to work for our teammates, to work for the team, to give everything you could to back your teammates up, and that's what we had. And at the moment, Liverpool, I don't think, have so much of the fighting spirit and team spirit that we had. I think we relied a lot on that, whereas Liverpool do have individual players with genuine quality. So they are the best team. They are getting a few decisions. We know, we as Leicester fans, we all go back to the Mane penalty, which is, again, it's a ridiculous decision. I don't feel it's a penalty, but they're giving penalties for those sort of decisions, and you have to accept that. That's just how it is. That's just the decision they've made. For me, though, as a coach, as a manager, if I'm Brendan Rodgers, I'm asking Mark Albrighton why, when he initially wins that ball back, is he not smashing that ball out into Rose Ed, out the stadium, get rid of it, to try and control it. And it's that sort of positions to play out from the back, I guess, to try not to just be a team that just clears the ball. But sometimes time and a place, and at the time, if Mark Albrighton smashes that ball out of play, there isn't a penalty, there's no decision to be made. So we need, as a team, I think, to look at ourselves on that one as well. Talking about Liverpool and Liverpool matches, Man City matches, I think we were all left massively disappointed by our performances against both these sides. The second games, or the first one against Man City, nonetheless, we didn't really compete with either of those two teams. I know we went 1-0 up against Man City, but we were allowing them to just attack. It was attack versus defence, and if you allow yourself to defend for that long in a game, you are going to get beat, especially against a Man City or a Liverpool. Liverpool just dictated to us for a long time in our own backyard. We've waited until the 60 odd minutes to start getting at them, and I was really starting to think we had like a 2-3, maybe even 5 minute spell of really putting a bit of high press on and getting some joy out of it, and I was beginning to think, actually, could we maybe nick something here? And then they get a penalty for a handball on Soyuncu, which, again, Soyuncu's hands are by his side. You can clearly see he's trying to get his hand out of the way. For whatever reason, I think only Virgil van Dijk appealed for that handball. It's just one of those decisions that leaves you, again, frustrated with the law, with the interpretations, with the decisions made by one or other VAR officials that will allow one and not allow the other. So, but our performances against those two teams, for me, they were a massive disappointment. I wasn't expecting us to win. I didn't think we should go out all-out attack but we didn't really try and lay a glove on them for long enough. We allowed Riyad Mahrez to cut in on his left-hand side over and over and over and over again. That day we were massively exposed down our left-hand side. Chilwell was absolutely outrun, outgunned, outfought, and that was down to, I think, Harvey Barnes not assisting more than he could. And then on Tuesday night we were massively exposed down our right-hand side. So I would say that something that other teams will pick up on with us is our two fullbacks, as good as they are. I think our two fullbacks are very, very good. They're probably the best two fullbacks I can think of that we've had at Leicester in my lifetime, at least. But because of the way we play, we do have two fullbacks that like to go forward, and against most teams you've got Wilfred and Ndidi in there to cover and to sweep up, and we've got centre backs that are good enough to defend. But against the better sides, or even against some of the lower league sides, as we've found out, we can get exposed. Mahrez and De Bruyne, and then Kyle Walker, I think was it, he's played right back that day, can't remember, may not have been, but Man City were loading that right hand side of the pitch with three players, and Ben Chilwell's totally exposed, and he allowed Riyad Mahrez to cut inside a handful of times, more than he should have done. As a player that played with Riyad Mahrez, you show him onto his right foot, he's still got ability on his right foot, but if you show him onto his left, we all know what he's going to do, and eventually via a deflection he did what he used to do for us. He got himself a goal, and it happened. So for me, that game in particular against Man City, it's another one where maybe on Tuesday, could we have utilised Wilfred and Ndidi in a different way? Could we have played two covering midfielders and asked one or the other to man mark Kevin De Bruyne in the Man City game, because he was floating all the way across our back line, picking up little pockets of space and making things happen. And then on Tuesday night, Jack Grealish was alongside Matt Targett, absolutely overloading us down the left-hand side. Ricardo was either caught out of position or left exposed by Perez, who wasn't tracking his fullback. And I think all the goals in the end originate or are finished from the right-hand side of our defence. And I don't really feel that any of them are solely Ricardo's responsibility. I don't think it's his fault in particular. The winner from Trezeguet on Tuesday, it's one of them where we've just failed to shut the cross down, and it is a perfect ball. A foot higher, it's over the top of all of them. A lower and Ricardo wins it, or Ricardo's a few inches further back and he wins it. It's just one of those. I feel like it was just meant to be for Villa. If you look at the domination that we had in both games, I've seen Aston Villa supporters, openly admit that they were not the best side, but it doesn't matter whether you're the best side in a game. It matters how many goals you score in the two games or in the one game in the league, and that's all that matters. So if I'm on Brendan Rodgers' coaching staff at the moment, I'm looking at fullback, I'm looking at the overloads that we're creating against ourselves by the system that we're playing, and a little bit looking at how we're allowing ourselves to get stopped by the low block a little bit at the moment, which is something I feel is maybe a bit of an issue against really, really well organised defences, as Villa were on Tuesday and in the previous leg against them at Southampton and Burnley and Norwich. These are teams that we were all left massively frustrated that we didn't beat. But we come up against teams that are organised defensively, who have recognised where our strengths are, and they've combated them, and they've found ways to get wins out of it. So for me, we should be looking a little bit more at trying to get that zip back into our attacking play, that aggression, that intensity that I just feel we lack at the moment in our attacking football. So that's all I'll say there. Obviously today being January the 31st is transfer deadline day. Now I think I speak for a lot of Leicester City supporters when we're a little bit flat about this transfer window. We really, especially given that we're fighting for Champions League football, I think we were sort of hoping that we might be able to attract someone in, at least, an exciting player or players. But at the moment, it doesn't appear that anything is going to happen. And the players that we're more heavily linked with are players that don't excite us as fans. That's just something I feel we're going to have to deal with. I do have trust in the system at the club. Look at the players we've signed recently. They've all been exceptionally good. I have no doubts that there have been players that we've missed out on, or there'll be players that we will continue negotiating with out of January into summer. But I think the one question mark for me, and although I don't think it's going to massively affect us, I still think we're capable of finishing inside the top 4 with our current squad. I don't think that, they've been the ones doing it so far. We're in 3rd place with 14 points ahead of Man United. We're inside the top 4. The players we've got at the moment are the ones that have got us into the top 4, so there's no reason why, if they can rediscover that little bit of intensity, that little bit of touch, that we can't cement our place in the top 4. However, I think it was obvious to a lot of us that we need, and even Rodgers has said it, he wants his wingers to score more goals. He wants more out of them. Although Perez and Barnes can both find the net, we know, I think Rodgers knows, Perez isn't an out-and-out right-sided midfielder / inside forward. He can sometimes become a little bit lost out there. I think we've seen with the game against Aston Villa, he offered very, very little in that game. He offered very little in that match in terms of attacking threat, but in other games he can be our most exciting attacking player. So it's one of them where he's definitely better through the middle of the pitch, and I'd like to see him utilised more in the middle of the pitch if we can find a way of utilising him. But at the moment, obviously, Maddison's your first name on the team sheet in the central attacking midfield position. In that, you don't question it. He's one of the first names on the team sheet, James Maddison. But yeah, I would like to see us potentially, if we can, try and bring in a wide inside forward-y type footballer. I think it's something that we definitely miss since a certain Algerian moved to Man City. As frustrating as Riyad Mahrez was, especially in the last 18 months of his time at Leicester, as soon as he gets the ball, defenders are worried, whether he's been in a game the whole game or whether he's just been a bit of a passenger. But when Mahrez used to pick the ball up, there was an unpredictability, there was an excitement about actually he could do anything here. He could beat me with a trick, he could lure me in and knock it past me, and with a little bit of pace beat me. He's got the ability to use his left foot or his right foot, so I don't know which direction he wants to go in, which direction he's going to take me. He can pop it in and spin off. He's got that vision. We don't have that in our wide player squad at the moment. Demarai Gray is a player I really, really rate. I've really got faith in him, but he's getting to an age and he's been at the club for a time now where it does start to think, is it ever going to work for him here? He's been good this season, Demarai Gray. I think when he's come on, he's made a difference. He didn't do a lot against Aston Villa on Tuesday, but he didn't have a massive amount of time. But he is a player that does have that slightly more unpredictable element to his game. He's not the finished article. It's it's a head scratcher, I suppose, for supporters, but as someone who's coached football, I'd love to work with Demarai Gray. I can see there's a player in there. There's little tweaks I'd love to make to his game. First and foremost would be his body shape out of possession. I think he spends a lot of time with his back to goal when receiving passes or when the play is happening. I would always say to my wide midfielders, have your body facing in towards the pitch as often as you can. So back to the touchline, because it allows you then to make decisions, make runs. It opens up a whole other raft of options. Just driving past a tank. A whole raft of options for you in attack. So at the moment, because Demarai Gray receives the ball back to goal, he has to look behind him to see where a defender is, or if he doesn't look, he's going to end up playing into where the ball just came from, or he's going to take a touch and try and turn, and it slows attacks down. So for me, if you're facing back to the touchline, you can either, if you receive a pass, you can let it run across your body and continue to attack at pace. You can, if you need to, if the defender's coming in for a nice hard close down, he's trying to shut you down nice and early, then you can step across and protect the ball, turn your back on it, use your body, shield it. If you're open, the defender's coming in. I think we saw Maddison do it brilliantly, actually. I think he might have gone past Douglas Luiz on Tuesday, where actually he's let that ball run across his body and taken it on his right foot, and he's just glided past the defender because the defender's a little bit slow on his shutdown. So Maddison's been able to see that, trust in the weight of the pass to get it across the front of Luiz, to allow it to come across his body onto his right foot, and his first touch is positive. I just think when you're closed off, when you close half the pitch off, you are exposing yourself to slowing attacks down and becoming very easy to defend against, because you have to try and do something special to beat the defender, or you try, and it's something I see a lot of footballers do, and it frustrates me then as a coach, like I say, as someone who's coached. The ball comes in, they try that little flick off the outside of their foot to spin in. Now, very rarely works. When it does work, it looks brilliant, but it's not something that works that often. But you're so limited when you're facing the way the ball's coming from and what you can do, especially as an attacking player. You need to be open so you can see what's happening, and you can make your decisions quicker because you can see where your teammates are, where your defenders are, where your opportunities to exploit might be. You've got so many options. You can go forwards, backwards, or you can go sideways. You've got all the options available to you. When you're only facing back towards the ball, you don't have as many options. You have it just for me, it's such a frustration. I would love to get him in. I'd love to work with him and really work on that body shape, receiving the ball. Can he get himself in a better position? You look at Harvey Barnes, and I'm a massive Harvey Barnes fan. I think for me, he gets in the team every week for me because he's a Leicester lad. He's proven he's got ability to score goals. He's got a lot of goals down in the Championship. He's starting to score goals for us. He has a little bit of unpredictability now. He's still developing, so for me, I would want to play him to get that opportunity, to get them chances, that game time, those match minutes, those experiences. That for me is the best way for Harvey Barnes now to develop. I don't feel like having Harvey Barnes in the team makes us weaker. So for me, he gets in the team and you continue to work with him and develop him. He's nowhere near the finished article, I don't think. But for me, you play him because he can create something. He does have the ability to go outside or inside. He's got that little bit of pace. He's shown that he can outstrip fullbacks. I would say he's maybe quicker than 60-70% of fullbacks in the Premier League. But that's what I want to see from him. I think his biggest issue is a little bit of self-confidence, a bit of self-belief. Sometimes Harvey beats himself before he's been beaten by the opposition. So in that, I mean, you can see sometimes that he doesn't try and take on his fullback because something in his mind has made the decision that he doesn't feel he can beat that fullback. So he doesn't, and he tends to play back into Chilwell or into midfield. It's just one of those things you'd like to see him just have that confidence to say, hang on a minute, I'm going to give it a try. You might well have won the ball off me a couple of times, but I am going to keep trying, and I'm going to try different things to try and beat you. and see where it goes from there. The other wide option we've got, obviously, is Mark Albrighton. Now, I don't give legend tags out to a lot of players. I think it's something that is overused massively. I don't think Mark Albrighton's far away from being a Leicester City legend, but for me, he doesn't quite make it, but he's close. He's been superb for us. He's been a great free transfer. His work rate, his determination and his passion for football and for our club is admirable, and I love the guy to pieces. But at the moment, unfortunately for him, I feel his skill set doesn't suit the way that we play. As I say, his career at Leicester is over. He's a great player to have, a squad player, an option to use. But Mark Albrighton's skill set is get the ball wide, get to the byline, get a crossing. And he is absolutely brilliant at that. But then if he's getting those crosses in, who's on the end of them? We don't have that option on the end of these crosses to score goals. Our option is on loan at Monaco right now, and has never been given that opportunity to receive crosses, and when he did score. He had ability. Slimani, I feel like he's another one similar to Ahmed Musa that wasn't given a massively fair crack of the whip at Leicester, and that comes down quite simply to Jamie Vardy. And that's not me slagging Jamie Vardy off, but this team is Jamie Vardy up front, and I completely agree with it. I wouldn't change it. Jamie Vardy for me is world class. He is world class at what he does. Now, he's not a tippy-tappy world class centre forward like a Sergio Aguero, but he's world class at what he does. There is no one in football that I've seen that does what Jamie Vardy does now. So when Jamie Vardy does eventually go, I don't feel there's not another Jamie Vardy out there to replace him. So Musa, I think, had ability. I think he proved that he could score goals. I remember his debut against Barcelona in the International Champions Cup. He scored 2 absolutely brilliant goals. He had pace, he had ability. Yeah, we've all seen him air shot. We've all seen him absolutely slice one off the outside of his foot. But he did have ability. And another, without a Jamie Vardy, I think Ahmed Musa would have been a success. For whatever reason, it didn't work out. We've moved on. We're not suffering because we don't have Ahmed Musa, but he's one that suffered the Jamie Vardy is the king curse. Jamie Vardy plays. Jamie Vardy is a Leicester City legend, 5,000 to 1 or not. Whether we win that title or not, Jamie Vardy for me, alongside players like Kasper Schmeichel, Andy King is another Leicester City legend for me. Those players go in regardless, or irrespective of the 5,000 to 1 title win. So our option from scoring goals from crosses, to go back to what I was talking about, isn't at the club. We don't have someone who's an aerial threat, which is what frustrated me so much about the first leg against Aston Villa. We threw a lot of crosses into the box, which Villa had, played 3 centre-backs, leaving Tyrone Mings as the spare man. He was the spare centre-back. He wasn't ever picking up anyone in terms of man-marking role, but he won pretty much every single header that went into that box that day. And that was simply because he had nothing else to worry about. His sole focus was the ball. Can I win that ball? That ball's coming in, I'm going to head it out. We don't have an aerial threat to combat that at the moment. Now, I'm not saying that we need to go out and buy a big man, because I don't think that's where this club is heading. I think the club is heading in a different direction in terms of touch players and quick interplays of passing to unlock teams that way. And that's not Jamie Vardy's strength, by the way. I don't think Jamie Vardy's strength is the tippy-tappy touch pass in and around the box, but he's that good that he finds a way to make his strengths work in the team. And in a sense, Brendan Rodgers and his teammates also find a way to get Jamie Vardy's strengths into the game. So yeah, as much as I love Mark Albrighton, his skill set doesn't really suit the system entirely. So for me, I would love to see us sign an inside forward to play on the right hand side or the left hand side, so someone that has that versatility that they can play either side, somebody who potentially has goals in their game, has a trick in there. Basically, I just want the club to sign a wide man who, as soon as they receive the ball, the players that are up against them are panicking a little bit. They don't know exactly what he is going to do. That has that little creative spark, has the pace, has the quickness in the feet, the quickness in the mind to really take our attacking side of the game to that next level. I just feel at the moment we're good. Like I said, like I began this with, the guys we've got in our forward positions have got us this far. They've got us into third place. They had us in second, and for a time, they had us in a title fight. But you can never be complete. You're never perfect. Man City still look to bring in players. Liverpool are still looking to bring in players, because you're never done. You're never complete. You're never the finished article. You always have somewhere or some way that you can improve. And for me, improving in that wide position is something that we need to do. But it doesn't appear, or it doesn't sound like, from what Rodgers has been saying in press conferences in regards to transfers, that a wide midfielder is likely to happen. So I would expect it to be quiet today in terms of transfers. I think there'll be one, possibly two. It sounds to me like one is going to be a centre-back, which for me I think is only happening to allow Benkovic to go get first team football. I feel like the club is still set on Benkovic being a future starting centre-back. I think he's massively got ability. I think we can all see that. But when you've got Evans and Soyuncu playing, your club captain has that experience to come on when needed. Benkovic is down at fourth choice, and he needs football at this time in his career. Philip Benkovic needs football, so to loan him out is a great decision. So we just need someone just to cover that centre-back 4, centre-back 3 spot for the rest of this season. And if we have a loan option to buy, and that player actually turns out to be a really great fit for us, then no harm done. Excellent, get them in, we'll make it happen. That is me at work. So hope you enjoy the video. I want to make more. It's something I've thought about doing for quite a long time. So please get involved with it. Leave a like, subscribe. You know, when it comes up on Twitter, please share it. It would be nice to get some more viewers, some more stuff, and I'll just talk about things that happen as and when they happen. So yeah, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and yeah, I'll see you later.